Update 2.5 months later. Hi everyone. I know it's been a long time, but I just wanted to give a brief update while I still have time. I put small whales to shame with my current size, and my baby is ready to burst out of me in just a few weeks, although he technically could come any day now. So, after my last post, my husband's brother and best friend went over there to figure out what the hell was going on. My boss was gracious and let me start maternity leave early, saying to take my time and figure out what I'm going to do, and my job is ready for me when I come back. So they are taking really good care of me. I also got a personal therapist because obvious reasons are obvious. I was a numb shell for a while, and one day I just broke and started crying and crying and crying and could not stop for the life of me. I don't think I've cried that hard ever in my life. My therapist has been a great part of my support system and guiding me through my issues and supporting my decisions. So, as I said, my husband's brother and friend went over there to talk to him, and they told me that he told them he was pissed off I was breaking our previous agreement, and that he couldn't help but feel I didn't love Lizzie or that I loved our son more, and that maybe he made a mistake marrying me because now I was picking sides and being unstable, and that I had left when he told me to treat the children fairly because he didn't think our son should get a stay-at-home mom because Lizzie didn't. And they completely ripped into him. His best friend Craig asked him what the fuck was he on to come to such a ridiculous conclusion. He pointed out all I had ever done for Lizzie, and that me being a part-time work stay-at-home mom would benefit her too because I would be able to do more things with her and spend more time with her. And also that he was a moron and I was smart and clearly not after his money, because I could have been a stay-at-home mom for just her and let him be the sole financial provider, but I didn't. His brother, Daniel, was even more blunt. Daniel called my husband an asshole and a douchebag and said point blank he didn't deserve me. He said my husband was being a controlling jerk and punishing me for his bitch of an ex-wife he shouldn't have married and reproduced with in the first place. Apparently, there is a lot of family anger on my husband's side for him marrying and having a kid with his ex-wife, and I won't go into it. Anyways, Daniel said I was the best thing to ever happen to him, my husband, and Lizzie, and he was ruining it with his own two hands, and he better man the fuck up and get over his ex and start treating me better and appreciating me more. And that he was being a shitty parent to Lizzie and our son by thinking that forcing me to return to work was okay because that made it fair. And that I was a far better mother to Lizzie than his ex ever was, and I did a damn good job of showing my love for her. I wrote that my husband started texting me in my last post, and then he started blowing up my phone, begging me to come back, that he couldn't function, etc. He also broke my rule and said Lizzie wasn't doing well without me, which really angered me and broke my heart because I love that little girl, but it felt so manipulative. I basically told my husband if he continues to use Lizzie as a reason I should come back, I would be filing for divorce because I would not be with someone who uses a child as a manipulative tool, and that I didn't want to be a replacement mom for Lizzie. I wanted to be his wife, and I have a family with him that included Lizzie. I said, get a therapist and into couples counseling with me, or he would be getting divorce papers because I will not have my son in a toxic, controlling environment. My husband agreed to both, saying he couldn't live without me and he knew he needed help. Our couples therapist was great. She touched on all the issues I wrote about and tried to get my husband to see he was being unfair and controlling in that. While it was understandable he would have a lot of fear and pain from his previous marriage. It was cruel to take out his issues on me because I had never wronged him and was not his ex-wife. So why was he making for me paying for what she did to him? It basically boiled down to my husband being afraid of me becoming like his ex and that I would favor our son and hurt his daughter or love her anymore. The therapist touched on the issue of his kids versus our kids. She said my husband needed to keep in mind that it is natural to feel more connected and attached to biological children as opposed to stepchildren. She told my husband that while both Lizzie and our son were his children, this was not the case for me. And not only was that natural and expected, it was okay. She asked, had I not been loving and kind with Lizzie? Had I not taken care of her? Did I go out of my way and sacrifice for her as would any other parent do? My husband replied hesitantly but positively to all the questions. So she said then there was nothing wrong with my feelings or changing my mind. As long as I continued to treat Lizzie with love, respect, and kindness, that there wasn't a problem. She also pointed out that while he might be affronted because Lizzie is also his biological child, it was not fair to him to expect I feel the same love and connection to her as he did. That it was, in fact, impossible because I had not carried her, gave birth to her, nursed her, and didn't come into my life until she was already a little girl. She said there were many kinds of love, and me having this special bond with the baby and wanting to stay at home and nest was not only natural, it didn't mean I had lost any maternal love for Lizzie. That it wasn't less or wrong or unfair, just different. And that one of the biggest mistakes biological parents make with a step-parent is guilting or bullying them about their feelings towards stepchildren versus biological children and insisting it has to be exactly the same. She said while that is also a natural and protective instinct, that the biological parent actually ends up being the one causing friction and tension and making both a step-parent and child feel inferior. And if care isn't taken, the stepchild can end up being the favored one because the biological parent tries to make up for a favoritism they believe exists. This was starting to be my feeling. She wrapped up by saying parents even tend to have favorites among biological children, but that the key was not act on that or make it obvious. And that was what I was doing, and that it sounded like I had done a great job so far. And that we were even ahead of the game because Lizzie was excited about the pregnancy and had a very positive and close relationship with me. My husband tried to argue, saying me staying home with our son but not her was blatant favoritism. The therapist countered with many of these points made in the last post. 1. That I was not in a place in my career at the time to work from home. I would have had to quit my job at the time in order to do so. 2. I was not in a place in our relationship to be a stay-at-home mom. I was not yet married and didn't feel comfortable giving up all my financial security without being married. 3. That Lizzie was already ready to be in preschool. She wasn't an infant, and that most people wouldn't want to give up a career they love to stay home full-time to a child that didn't need full-time care and that they had no biological connection to. 4. Lizzie wouldn't know the difference because she was old enough to know I wasn't her mother and didn't come into the picture until she was past the baby toddler stage, and that even small children can understand babies need more care than preschoolers, especially if it is explained calmly to them. In short, she said that the fact I was more than happy to spend more time with Lizzie, wanted her to be in the baby's life, wasn't being territorial or aggressive about the pregnancy, and was still taking an active role in Lizzie's life were very good signs, and that we were in fact doing much better than many step-families in our position. I'm sorry to say my husband tried, but just couldn't accept it. We tried going on family outings more and therapy, but he backed out, saying he felt he was being ganged up on and that no one was on his side. He simply couldn't see why I should stay home to work with the baby. I asked point blank if he even wanted the baby and seemed shocked and said, "Of course he did. He just wanted to make sure his daughter got what was owed to her." In the end, he refused to compromise. And frankly, I saw it as being blatantly unfair and cruel to our son to insist he had to be put in a daycare or given to a nanny.